This is Greg Smallwood, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Welcome, one and all loonies, from across the multiverse. This is the latest 113th episode of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. A podcast where four fearless defenders from across time come together to talk some shit about Moon Knight. From the boring 21st century, I am your host, Connor Stevens, and join with me is the Fab Three, other High Priest, here all the time. From the year 500 BC, it's Reynaldo. How's it going on?
Hey, how you going, Connor? Very happy to be here. Very excited. We have a brand new Moon Knight issue to review, so getting pumped for that, and we've got a lot more in store for this show.
It's a good time to be a Moon Knight fan. So we have brought along, like I said, two other people from the 24th century. It's the man who invented bread again. It's Chad.
Chad.
How's it going, Chad?
It's a good invention. It's a great invention.
He threw a crescent down and he just made bread again. Who would have known?
Oh, man. Fantastic.
And from the void, time of origin unknown, his mysteries never to be revealed. It's the man on the street, Tommy.
Yes, the streets of the void. Hi, friends. Good
Hello.
to be here.
Hello.
Yeah, so...
And yes... Well, I think we both went to start that. That's the problem with the time stream. I'll let you kick that off, Ray.
No, I was just about to say, this is a little bit of a first, a bit of a boon for this episode. We've got faces to voices now, so I think it's easier to interact now, rather than not knowing when someone will jump in. And yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, and it's bringing some loonies together, and it's we're connecting from 4 different parts of the world. Ray's in Sydney. Connor, are you still in Toowoomba in Northern Australia?
I sadly am, yes.
And Chad is on the West Coast in the state of Washington, and I'm in the near Midwest in the United States in Michigan. So I always love the fact that we are connecting fans and bringing our hobby together and something that we love all over the world. I think it's so cool. So thank you, Connor and Ray, for setting this up.
Oh,
I had no part in this. This was all Ray. I cannot.
No, not at all. This is great. Look, I know each and every one of you wanted to weigh in with this Moon Knight annual, and we'll get to that very shortly as well. But it'll be really interesting to get your thoughts on it, because it seemed to be, just, holistically, we won't get into it yet, but it just seemed to be quite well received. But I'm looking forward to nitpicking this issue, trying to reveal the ghoulies underneath the skirts,
That's some special phrasing.
That is an
It's something,
Australian
all right.
expression that I am not familiar with, but I look forward to hearing about that. Well, shall we go into some idle chat, gentlemen?
Yeah, for sure.
I think so. Before we kick off the big stuff.
So this last season, several loonies, Ray and Chad and Connor and Dustin, Cold Case Kurtz, and I all participated in something that we've had a lot of fun with, the Fantasy Comic League that's set up here in the States, and every month we choose 4 characters from a tiered list. It's just like drafting fantasy football here or fantasy baseball here in the States or wherever you happen to be. And characters earn points based off of their appearances, based off their power sets, and you get to choose and what your specialties are month by month. And I've had a lot of fun with it. I mean, guys, before we talk a little bit about the results, any comments on the FCL? Anything that you just absolutely love about it? Has it triggered you into reading new comics or following characters. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I
Don't trust your favorites.
Yeah. I'm very interested,
Our
actually.
favourites are all like Moon Knight. Just fuck him off. He was never there. I don't think he was ever even on a list. It just wasn't there.
I'd just like, sorry, Connor, before you get into it, I'd like to ask Chad as well, that question that you mentioned, Tommy, as well. How did you find it? Because you were let's say that you approached it very differently from the rest of us, and I thought it was, I thought your values were great. I really enjoyed that. As for the success rate, so you basically stuck to your guns. You had a couple of favourites, Loki, right? I think it was Winter Soldier as well. Was She-Hulk in there? Or was that She-Hulk? And X-23. Yeah.
Which was a very moot point, because she just didn't get much action, so...
Yeah.
She appeared once.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
she's getting a new book soon, so you'll be safe, maybe.
It's because Chad's in the future again, so if he chose it a bit later in the FCL, he would do well. You're a man out of your time, Chad. But anyway, yeah, did you enjoy it, Chad? Like, how was it? Did you, how did you find the whole thing?
I did enjoy it, despite my lack of, points being struck. I still really enjoyed following it across the board.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's cool, and it's great to have you back for season 2 as well. So that's cool. Do you think you'll change your approach in the second season, or are you gonna?
I changed my approach. That's why I went with Conan. I went with Doom. I went with Venom.
Doom is cool. Yeah, but I know you like Doom, so I know that again there's a favour as well. But I think he will do well. You're right. I think he's got the series right, so
he's got his standalone. And then there's the Doom 2099 coming up, so...
Yes. Okay. Well, he'll be in there, so he'll be in the
nice.
mix. Yeah.
And see, I took a leg up from Chad from last season. I was so impressed with his last place results every month that I decided to start drafting my favorites, not necessarily on the ranked preseason order. Yeah. And so, Chad, just to that point... I told Ray my number 1 pick is Moon Knight. I was the third draft pick, and Ray didn't pick him, and I think I forget who was the second pick, but I know that Moon Knight has at least 2 issues this month, so I'm bound to get at least 2 points. And you know what? I'll take that. And then my other 3 characters that I chose for the new season were based off that preseason order, but. Khonshu, though, you were with us for that first season. It was a ton of fun. And, times are times, and you're super busy. But any thoughts on Fantasy Comic League? Should other people get involved? Did you have fun with it?
Do you guys remember in high school, whenever you had a group project, and there was that one cunt who would just disappear? It was like me for the second half of that season.
Chad raises his hand up.
Look at him, poor flashbacks. I work a nightmarish job, so I sadly do not have as much time as I would have hoped, but to really invest. But I think like the first couple of months I was there full on, and it was such an enjoyable experience of properly spending like hours researching every issue of League of Comic Geeks. Yes. Like invaluable, essential to getting me up to date, and I did pretty well with that as well. And it was a lot of fun. I just wasn't quite able to make it for a lot of that season and towards the end. But what I am most able to talk about is how well run it is. God, I forget the guy who runs it.
Brian.
Brian. Okay, I know it was Brian. Fantastic guy. The amount of effort he puts into making us all feel welcome, making something that could be a nightmare to run through 75 different Twitter chat rooms. Like it was. Magical, and it was such an enjoyable experience. I want to give a big shout out to him. This would not be what it is without him.
Yeah, definitely. Props to Brian. I don't know how he does it. I mean, we're just one division, and there are 4 other divisions that he's got to, stick his finger in the pie with as well, and try to get across the board everyone's kind of drafts and explain, how to use power sets. And so he's very patient, and he's very accommodating. So a big a big shout out to Brian as well. But yeah, that's good. And Connor, yeah, I guess what you do find, and of course, like you work nightmarish hours and stuff, that because you were gunning it for the first couple of months, but yeah, there is a little work involved in it. As you're saying, like you can spend as much time as you want trying to figure out how many, like what's coming out that month, who's going to be appearing, who might be appearing in issues. It's, you know, just like a footy fantasy, it gets quite involved.
Yeah, it does. 100%. I know that I play fantasy football, American football, with some friends. I play fantasy baseball, and I kind of dip in and out with fantasy soccer or, you know, fantasy football everywhere else. Just as a Premier League fan, I mean, my favorite team, Tottenham Hotspur, we're playing in a couple hours. Crystal Palace, need to take a win. We're playing at home. But then we've got this new season, and Connor, we're sad to see you go. But we are welcoming a colleague of mine, a friend of mine from school. I'm a high school teacher. Jason is our maestro. He's our Latin teacher. And he is similar to all of us, sweet listeners here on the podcast. He loves comic culture, has forever. And he actually has a lot of really interesting stories, and I'd love to bring him on to ITK sometime. He's a Moon Knight fan. Maybe not as much as we are, but you know, he thinks the character is really cool. But he's got some really interesting stories. He used to live in New Jersey, where he went to graduate school, and there's this one story, like his buddy's brother or something was an exec at DC, and he went into this vault-like room at the DC headquarters, and they basically gave him 100 free comics, but of these classic issues. He's brilliant. He's a lot of fun, and he's really excited to join us in our fantasy league this season. So we've got Ray, we have Chad, Jason, and I think Dustin Cold Case Kurtz is sticking around.
He's coming. He's already paid up. He's provided the coin. Yeah, so he's keen.
And I'm playing as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Last season I was expecting to win the entire season. I had pulled in second place each month. I got my 3 points a month. I got first place, I think, in the second month, or however it pans out. And then Ray, somehow the stars aligned, the full moons aligned. The Friday the 13th full moon, Khonshu came down, and Ray won the league. And so when you win this league, because it is a paid league, the winner receives a free trade paperback. Mm-hmm. They win a trade paperback, and Ray generously donated his part of his winnings back to the league to reduce our dues for this next season. So Ray, thank you for that. It was honorable of you.
Please don't thank me, because I could have just split it all and just say, hey, let's split it down the middle. But I kind of did take the selfish route, and I said, okay, well, pay off my fee, and then there are, then there's a few bucks left. So I thought I'd, just spread that around. But thank you, Tommy, for that. But it's
very humble.
Anyway, so it was very close, right? So I just want to quickly go. Oh, actually, no. I wanted to ask you, was that your strategy as well to not seek the win, but just to hang in around second at least and first? Because that's what Brian was saying. He's saying that is a strategy that some people do. They don't. I don't know how you do it, but they don't actually aim to go to the top all the time. If you come out second or third or first, around there, then your overall points will ensure that you stay around the top. Is that what you did?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because when it comes to drafting in this fantasy league, again, the way that the preseason rankings are organized is first by the number of appearances for each of these characters, and Peter Parker Spider-Man tends to always be at the top. Yeah. Last season, I think over the summer, he had an expected 12 appearances or something in month one, which I think may have been May, but maybe it was June. Mm-hmm. With the the end of War of the Realms coming, and yada yada yada, and all the different titles that he's in. So it's first organized by the number of expected appearances, and then it's organized in alphabetical order. So the first month that I drafted rather, I knew that Wolverine was going to have X number of appearances, and Moon Knight was going to have potentially 0 appearances. So I just chose by character's number of expected appearances.
Okay.
And I didn't realize until July, maybe the second month, that the characters were organized alphabetically. And so then that second month, I decided to not just go down the preseason rankings list, but then I actually started thinking, okay, well, who are some of my favorite characters? Taking the Chad strategy there too, because that's what makes it fun.
The Chad strategy.
Brian, the Chadagy.
Do it.
The Chadagy.
Do it.
Brian, Brian, the creator here at FCL, he posts on Twitter these special card updates, pretty much on Wednesday on New Comic Book Day. Sometimes there's a little delay as it happens, and that's a lot of fun too. As we mentioned before, you get to see a version of your characters, you get to see their stat breakdown, and that's what, as Connor Mann said, that it makes this fantasy league a ton of fun, because you can go week by week and check out all those updates. But so no, Ray, I have to say that my strategy initially was I'm going down the list, I'm taking a look at their expected appearances, because of course characters might appear in a comic book, you'd never know. So there's I'm not too sure if we can track down a proper strategy to this league other than just choose the characters that are going to help you have the most fun. And again, that's why in this new season, I made sure my first pick was Moon Knight, because I know that he's in at least 2 issues, and every week on Twitter, I know that I'm going to see my favorite character, and I'm going to see some power stats next to him. And it's fun, with friends, with all of you guys, to just be able to chat about it once in a while on Twitter, or if we happen to, be on Facebook Messenger or something, and razz each other a little bit. It's just part of the fun. So no clear strategy. Just take a look at the expected number of appearances, as Connor mentioned, on League of Geeks. Fantastic resource. You can kind of see what's happening and maybe expect, maybe this character will appear in Punisher 16 next month. Like, we have the chance that maybe Moon Knight will appear briefly in Punisher 16. Probably not, but you never know. I guess there can be a bit of that strategy.
Yeah, that's the X factor for sure. So anyway, that last season, which just wrapped up, just got the points here. So Tommy, you and I ended up on 8 points overall, but we had to split it through overall scores. So 272 to 260, very close still. Connor and Dustin, this is the thing that I found really cool. You guys both ended up on 6. You both had your overall scores were both equal as well, 229. What are the chances?
Me and Dustin.
What are the chances of that? And then so it came down to who had the best month, and it's kind of, since you won one of the months, you had 96 in one of them, to Dustin's 62. So you came out on top at the end there. So you came in at 3rd. Dustin came in at 4th, and Chad, you bring up the other end. You are the other leader from the other end on a what's that? An egg, a bagel.
Just gaping void in the scores.
But anyway, it should. Who knows? Season 2, it's up. And just look, wanted to take this opportunity as well, Loonies. It is a heap of fun. We've posted it up there before. Albeit this season, our official ITK Moon Knight division is locked up with the 5 players, but that's not to say that we can't have another one as well. So if there's anyone interested still, look, the season has started, so kind of got it in there quickly. Just hit us up, and if we can get another team of 5, then we can set you up and create another division of ITK. It's a lot of fun. So.
Do we have time to just kind of check in and see what everybody's been reading recently, other than last week's Punisher 15 and this week's Moon Knight Annual?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, Chad. Anything that you've been reading of note lately? Last week?
I've been going through the TMNT 1984 series, like the original Eastman Laird.
Oh,
nice.
okay.
That's the black and white stuff,
Yep.
right?
It was unexpectedly very violent.
Chad looks scarred.
No,
Traumatized.
it's fine. It's just I thought it was going to be basic, acrobatics and like foiling the bad guy with sabotage. No, it's pretty visceral. Just
Cool.
unexpected.
Well,
That original 80s cartoon really sort of kicked off that original kind of take the comic and make it Saturday morning.
Yeah, for sure.
Add pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Noel's a big fan of TMNT as well, and I'm very curious about one of his Olaras was a what is it? It was a TMNT related. I've forgotten the name of this. It was about a robot. It was only one issue ever came out, and it was linked to the Turtles. But yeah, Connor, how about you? What did you?
I'll keep it. Yeah, I'll just keep it to two quick ones. Pretty Deadly is back. Pretty Deadly, the Rat one. Pretty Deadly is one of my all-time favorite series. That's Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios, Geordie Belair. Just the most gorgeous supernatural cowboy shit. Where can you go wrong? Absolutely love it. And one of my favorites, Christopher Cantwell, Halt and Catch Fire. She Could Fly, writing the new Doom series coming up next month or so. Everything Run, one from Burger Books out through Dark Horse. That is a crazy cool small town supernatural piece about a mysterious shopping mall that's connected to all the town's goings on, and it's quite a bit of setup of this terrifying, interesting scenario, and it's a lot about, loneliness and what's missing in our lives, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I forget who the artist is, but it's an absolutely fantastic looking book as well. INJ Colbert, I believe it is. Ian Colbert. It's good.
Again, fascinating.
Love Burger Books.
Where do you find these things, Connor? Again, like.
You go League of Comic Geeks, you go New Comics, and you click Only Ones, and then you just scroll through.
Okay.
See what takes your fancy.
Yeah, right. Nice one. Tommy, how about yourself?
Yeah, so last night I had the pleasure of recording with Noel Tate, Noel Looney Tunes Tate, and Rick, the Rick Ball Special, Gentusa, a Sydney friend of Ray's there. Shops at King's Comics. And what I mentioned is that I am so behind when it comes to some of my subscriptions, but I discussed my summer readings, and so I'll just show you all really quickly. I've been reading many more Image comics over Marvel Comics. Generally. Yeah. I've been picking up some different series and trades, but Kirkman's Oblivion Song, I've been reading that.
Oh, okay.
I don't have it here, but of course Gideon Falls, Jeff Lemire. This came out just this last week, but Warren Ellis and Jason Howard, Trees, Three Fates. I haven't read this yet, but I flipped through it at the store, and it looked really cool.
Oh, Trees.
It's another Image series.
Yeah. Have you read that, Connor?
Are you... No, it's the one Warren Ellis comic. He did that and Injection, and I think this is like the second or third part of the Trees series. I've always been meaning to catch up, but
you're right.
Warren Ellis, you probably won't go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Warren Ellis. I saw number 1, and I thought,
you
know what? I'm at least going to check this out. So if there's 2 Fates or 1 Fate previous series, I look forward to checking those out. Isola, I was struck by, this came out maybe a year and a half ago, but
fantastic.
Not this issue, but the series started, and the art is just, it's unbelievable.
Nice.
I feel like I've never seen anything like it before, especially in the first 4 or 5 issues, the way it's set in this forest and the way that they show the light, it's unbelievable. Last year, and I think I mentioned this before in passing, but my barbershop, Foremost Barbershop in Grand Rapids, they have a huge trade paperback collection. So while you're sitting around waiting for a barber's chair, you can pick up something new. And that's where I first found Jeff Lemire's Descender with Dustin Wynn. And I was struck. It was really cool. So I read through the first 2 trades there, and then I picked up the rest and so I read Descender in trade paperback, and they started their follow-up series that takes place about a decade after, called Ascender. And it's like a sci-fi opera. It's a mix of Star Trek and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. There's magic. Wow. It's really, really cool. Immortal
Big
Hulk.
June
I've been
vibes.
reading in trade.
Immortal Hulk.
That's been a lot of fun.
You loving it?
I am. Again, I've been reading it in trade, so
Yeah.
whenever I come in on a Wednesday to my shop and I see somebody pick up an issue and they start flipping through it, I have to avert my eyes because I'm so far behind.
Yeah.
I'm only up to, I think, trade number 3, so that might be issues 12 through 16 or something. Summer project of mine was to reread the Sandman series. So this is volume 9, but the kindly ones. One of my best buddies when I was younger in middle school, he was collecting the single issues, and so he kind of got me back into that comics world, and then I took another hiatus until I was maybe in my 20s or early 20s. But I've been rereading that. I borrowed his trades back in the day, and now I'm coming back to it. So I read through that. I didn't get to Overture, though. I don't know if any of you have read Sandman Overture. Neil Gaiman released that, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half ago. But I have to say that my read of the summer was Image's Monstrous. And if you all haven't checked this out, really great. Just fantastic. There's 3 trades.
I think I would have that as my favorite Image series. That is,
Eisner award-winning, wasn't it? She won.
It is.
Yeah.
I think the series is award-winning, but also Sana Takeda, the artist, exclusively the art. Marjorie Liu is the creator, or lead creator, the writer, and Sana Takeda does all the art. She does all the covers. She does all the interiors.
Fantastic.
And Takeda, I think, has won multiple awards, not only for some of her covers or maybe one of her covers, but also just her work on the series. And so, again, this mixes steampunk culture with arcane magic, and there are like different species that interact with each other, and it's just a really interesting world, and it's fun to read, but it's also just fun to look at. You know, it's really, really cool.
Is it
Great
easy?
Characters.
Is it easy to get into? Like,
for me, it was. I mean, I think I was at a bookstore, and I was just browsing through their paperbacks and seeing what they had. Yeah. And Monstrous Volume 1 was $8, and so it's the thickest of the volumes. And said, I'll check this out. I'll pick it up, and I read it all in maybe an hour. And then after that, I said, I have to continue this. So I really enjoyed it. Fantastic. And then my last pick, I think, is my friend Jason, who's joining us in Fantasy Comic League. Popped by our library, our local library by our high school. And they always have books for sale, but they never have comics. And he found a pristine copy of Neil Gaiman's Eternals.
Oh, wow.
Which isn't that good, but it's still Neil Gaiman, and it's timely. With the Eternals announcement, we got Kit Harington coming in as Black Knight, and
awesome.
the cadre of the Eternals
and the others.
So I've been reading this.
The others, Angela,
I'm maybe about halfway through so far. I've
been
reading it over the last week. Yeah. It's not that great, but
that's what I've heard. Yeah,
as many people say, it's a good entry point, and I think. Something that we spoke about a little bit last night with Rick and Noel, because they're both familiar with it. We wouldn't be surprised. You know how Marvel's been releasing those True Believers issues, bringing back some Kirby pieces and they're dollar issues, basically. We wouldn't be surprised if Marvel does something similar with this Neil Gaiman Eternal series, where as that movie comes out, this is a good entry point to introduce you to the multitude of characters, the ensemble of characters. So again, it's not that good, but he got this for $2 at our library, so the money went directly to a place that we care about, and it's a nice hardcover.
And it's going to prep you for the movie. At least you'll have some reading, done about it for it. So, was that anything else there, Tommy? Or
Oh, I'm sure there's a ton. Like, I've been getting back into my Zelda manga. That I'm not a big manga fan. I'm not a big anime fan, other than, say, Dragon Ball Z. But
yeah,
again, Zelda was my favorite, or the Link to the Past, Super Nintendo. That was the first video game that I beat by myself, and with no cheats or guides or anything like that.
Yeah.
So Zelda always has a special place in my heart, and so I've just been picking up the Zelda manga series whenever I can.
nice.
And that's a ton of fun, because that too is a great entry point for my children, because
Yep.
there's not really any blood. It's just Link
Yeah,
with a cool sword.
children
So-
friendly. So no, that's good. No, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Look, just quickly, I'm really behind as well, Tommy, with all my latest subscriptions and stuff. I have been reading a bit randomly. Well, actually, they're all kind of podcast related. So I've been reading up on the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern trades and his origin, where he started. So that's kind of fun. It's actually pretty cool. I mean, it's set in 94, so it's kind of familiar with the 90s comics and that kind of tone of comics, and that's a lot of fun. Going through Operation Galactic Storm from the Avengers, again in the 90s. A little bit of homework, because one of my favourite podcasts, Quantum Zone, I'm going to give them a shout out, Quantum Zone, the Quasar podcast. They're reviewing all the 22 parts to it. So I read part 1, which was in a Captain America comic. But it's in I've got the Avengers Epic Collection of the Operation Galactic Storm, so reading through that as well. Yep. Other than that, just been reading the Moon Knight Annual, and that's it. So it's been pretty slim pickings what I've been reading lately. But yeah, there you go, loonies. A vast array there of comics for you to maybe choose, maybe investigate later on.
Let's see. News. We got the white noise.
Mm-hmm.
So we got
Just turn the TV on,
announcement.
set it to static.
That's it.
Good to go.
Yeah. Let's see. We got the announcement for Moon Knight being in the Serpent War, which is the Conan, Solomon Kane, and what was the last character?
Oh yeah.
I think there's 4.
There's 4, yeah.
Some witch, cool swordswoman from the Conan series.
Yeah.
Just pulling it up now.
But she's a 15th, late 15th to early 16th century
Black Agnes.
rebel. Yeah.
That's the
She's
one.
got like
She's got a gun,
real
like a
red
revolver
hair.
or something like that.
I thought it was like a flintlock or something.
Well, yeah,
'Cause it
sorry.
looked
When
really
I said revolver, I
bulky.
thought back to myself. I'm not sure that was invented yet. So yeah, as Chad said, a flintlock. But
Yeah, this would be interesting. What do you guys think of this? I think this is the biggest news. This was alluded to by CB Cebulski about Moon Knight coming in December, which we reported last week in a very unexpected way. And this is it. He's coming via a 4-part miniseries, much to do with Conan and I guess time travel. Very disparate characters here. Chad, what do you make of this? Is this something that excites you? Are you a bit disappointed by this? Where are you with it?
So Conan is another character I picked up for our fantasy league, so there's that. I'm looking forward to it because I personally
Chad's
really
happy.
I really like Solomon Kane. He's like this begrudging, cursed man that used to be a pirate, and he basically turned his life around, became a priest, and through various tribulations, he's basically said, well, here's our luck.
Oh, hey.
But, yeah, he's basically gone back to his evil ways of, mirth and murder. But
isn't he doing that like in the name of his faith and God though? I thought that was the gist of his character.
it was in the name of God, but it's kind of also, he feels like he's been jettisoned back into it because he's basically set up ultimatums like, hey, I'm only going to do this if you really tell me to, and he basically finds an excuse to do it.
Because I know that just reading through what Marvel.com published, I have to admit I didn't really scrounge through the like comic book resource or comicbook.com articles. I just went directly and read the Marvel release.
Mm-hmm.
And it did seem interesting because we have Solomon Kane, as Chad introduced, who has this strong faith, and he has this faith in a god that he's never interacted with directly. Whereas on the other side, juxtaposed, you have Mark Spector, Moon Knight, who is, in a way, I guess, within this series, a devoted follower of Khonshu, this other god, and we think that Mark is actually interacting directly with Khonshu. And so the difference between the two characters, they're good foils for each other. At least that's what the Marvel.com article published. And so I think that there's something pretty interesting there. Because again, another note that was mentioned is that Moon Knight and Conan are going to start the limited series here, or the 4-issue event, on separate tracks, but then they're going to come together at the end.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that that's going to be either at the end of issue 3 or in issue 4. And they said it's going to be explosive. So I'm excited for it as a Moon Knight fan. I'm excited for it just because it's something new. But that other note there is that Moon Knight and other characters, but especially Moon Knight, are going to be permanently changed after this event.
Yeah.
And so there's something there that worries me. But at the same time, knowing that we have the Disney Plus series coming out and potentially how they use the like She-Hulk and Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel, maybe they're using the Disney Plus series to prep those characters for feature films, which would be great. Maybe it's going to be for the best of the character. So I'm excited, but I'm a little worried. I just want to get back into a long-running Moon Knight series. I want to bring our boy back. I want to be able to pick him up once a month and have some fun with that.
Yeah, how about you, Connor?
Yeah, that's my sentiments exactly. I got nothing against Conan. He's pretty fun, sword and sorcery tales. I never really got into him, except for the Age of Conan Belit series, which was Teeny Howard, and I picked up because, funnily enough, Sana Takeda covers. That's kind of beside the point. I don't know why I went there, but I do like Jim Zub as well. At least even the stuff of his that I'm not super into, they're always well written. So there's part of me that's definitely keen to pick this up day one, talk with it about you guys, and it's pretty cool to see Moon Knight get a mainlight spot with what has been one of their biggest properties. Marvel's biggest properties of 2019 being the Conan, but I mean, if someone asked me what I'd want, I probably wouldn't have said this, and I think I want to talk about it with you guys later. I just threw it in the docket. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but this is a really new direction for Moon Knight from Lemire, Bemis, what's being set up with Jason Aaron, and now this annual. There is this importance of Khonshu and Mark being Khonshu's avatar that is unprecedented. Like this is like entirely different from Moon Knight, which is what we like to see. But that makes me also skeptical. Will we get Jake Lockley? Will we get Stephen Grant? How much of this is actually going to be the Moon Knight we know and love? But all those quibbles aside, we like this character because of his flexibility, and we'll all be there day one. So praise be.
Yeah, it is part and parcel, isn't it, with Moon Knight? It's and it's always a little jarring when we do get something new. This is not a Moon Knight series, but again, even from this annual, he's depicted in a very particular way. And the fact is that Moon Knight has so many facets to him that writers, more often than not, will focus on one thing and maybe leave things in the back seat. So we get that with this annual that we're going to review as well, and it may be the way forward for Moon Knight. It may be what they have in mind for the TV show, and they're actually, how the TV show and the comics kind of work together. Maybe the comic book form of Moon Knight is now being moulded, for good or worse, in the guise of what the TV representation of Moon Knight will be. Similar to you, Tommy, a little nervous at this, but also a little excited. Who knows? Who knows what it could bring? I've got my thoughts on the annual coming up as well, with its take on Moon Knight. So I'll leave it for that. But anything with Moon Knight, I reckon we should cover this, kind of, shouldn't we? We'll cover the 4 issues on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, regardless of how often he'll appear in issue 1, 2, or whatever. It's quite a short run as well. 4 issues. There's not much there to really sink your teeth into. I mean, Zub is a good writer. I do like his stuff. I mean, it's easy to write, but easy to read. Sorry, but 4 issues. That's going to go by before you know it.
And is that
but
do any of you know, is that a monthly or is that a weekly?
Bi-weekly, 2 issues.
So
December,
that'll
and
take us to the end of January then.
Okay, right. Yeah, so I don't know. It's exciting news. It's not the news that we all thought, and Sobolski definitely was correct in it being in an unexpected way. I liked Josh's take on it, of it being linked to Kang and Moon Knight entering from 2099. I reckon that would have been awesome. That would have worked really well, but let's see what this one brings.
Let's see. So that was the Serpent War. After that, we just got more Moon Knight, 10 actors, and fan cast and bits.
Yeah, this is more. There's a whole heap of this now coming up, isn't it? Like Chad, I just put this in because with all the TV show coming up, there's a whole heap of these things. One of the loonies put it up as well in the Facebook group. 10 villains we want to see Moon Knight fight in the show, 10 actors we want as Moon Knight, all that sort of stuff. So, par for the course, really, for a lead up to a TV show.
Yeah.
But anyway, the article was, like a primer for Moon Knight, and that other article, 10 actors, we all got our favourites, or who we think it could be. I don't know. I don't really want to tread over that again. Do you guys want to go through any? No?
Not especially. Okay. I am wondering if...
I'm always bad with fan casting.
Yeah. What was that, Chad? Sorry?
Did Rebecca end up finishing that article?
Which article was that, sorry?
Oh, she was just doing a little bit of a jest about the clickbait articles and saying, hey, I'll just go ahead and write my own. I'll start writing for CBR.
Perfection takes time is all I want to say. Perfection takes time.
Let's see, apparently
But loonies, if you are interested in checking out any of those clickbait articles, you can just see our Facebook group news feed, because
just type in
it's still
Moon Knight,
fun once in a while. You can choose to click on them or not, but it's great to have excited loonies that are really willing to share things that they find.
I love the activity happening. That's good. It's it's a buzz. Sorry, Chad. What have we got next?
Just apparently MCU Cosmic posted a thing basically displaying the different working titles for the assorted shows and movies. Like the one for Moon Knight is called Good Faith. Black Widow is Blue Bayou. Eternals is Sack Lunch. The Falcon and Winter Soldier is Tag Team. Okay, I could see that. Loki is the River Cruise. Sounds very Loki. And WandaVision is Big Red.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy, you put something on the community, the group, about speculation as to Good Faith. Any thoughts on that, guys? What do you reckon? I mean, we know it's a working title. To me, there's always an essence of what the show is about, tangentially somehow. Do you reckon it has any merit, Chad?
I think that it may have more to do with his, origin in the comics than anything else. Like, that he's actually going to be, like, the fresh out of resurrection Mark that's, like, fervent about following Khonshu's will.
Yeah, and it could well be, I mean, what I mentioned before about them kind of grooming Moon Knight now to be very much like we see in the annual. Maybe it could be that, like with Khonshu kind of now being unambiguous and no longer, is it his mental state or is Khonshu real? Maybe that's what they're trying to instill in the movie, in the TV show. I don't know. Connor, any thoughts on this?
Isn't MCU Cosmic like one of the worst for clickbait that probably isn't true? But besides that, but I think that's a good title. I think regardless of how you put Khonshu in, whether he is the big bad god man, whether he's real at all or just at Mark's head, faith is a big part of that character. So I think, I mean, if you actually had that as a title, I wouldn't even be mad, or even just an episode title. It's kind of a fun name.
Okay,
very Preacher.
Yes, does seem to be. Any other final thoughts on that one there, Tommy?
I think Chad, you kind of wrapped it up really well. That maybe this is going to be a series that starts right at the resurrection at the feet of the Khonshu statue, and maybe even we're going to see, because who knows how many episodes this is going to be, right? That I don't think that's been released. So let's say it's a 10-issue initial series, hoping that there's more. Maybe we will see Mark in the heat of battle, maybe even have a Bushman scene at the beginning, and we won't see Bushman again until the end of the series, or the end of the first series here. And he's resurrected, so Khonshu inspires him to become his avatar of vengeance. He's super street level, trying to figure himself out, make his own suits, and then maybe over the course of the first series there are hints of his dissociative identity disorder, and maybe by the end of the series we start to question maybe he's just
insane,
projecting Khonshu himself. Yeah, right. But maybe by the end of the series we as an audience start questioning whether or not Khonshu is real, and that would then be a good way to hook us for season 2. But again, you start at the high point of here's a mystical character. Here's the god Khonshu, and then that starts to break down and more of Mark starts to come out. So that would deviate a little bit, I think, from, like, say, the Jeff Lemire series that introduced that idea that maybe Khonshu actually appeared to Mark when he was younger. Maybe Khonshu explained Mark's DID to him when he was a child, which then brought about the question of maybe Khonshu was just another identity that Mark had. So, but again, that's all part of my love for Mark Spector, my love for all the aspects and for Moon Knight. Yeah. Because writers can take it in a new direction. We saw with Bemis, he took it his own path, and here Cullen Bunn, as we'll discuss in a few minutes, took some of the legs from the Bemis run and brought in the idea that maybe there have been multiple avatars of vengeance throughout time. Yeah. And so it's comics. I love it, and you can't win them all. Sometimes you'll love it, sometimes you'll hate it. But I love the character. Yeah. Thank you, Doug Mensch. Thank you, Bill Sienkiewicz. And I'm in it forever. So let's have some fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone will have their favourite kind of impression and depiction of Moon Knight, but yeah, I mean, let's just see where things take us, and I mean, we'll see what happens with this TV show. Could be good, could be bad. We don't know. We'll cover it regardless. The only other thing here, Chad, as well, which I put in was, it seemed, and again, this is MCU Cosmic, Connor, so as you say, it could be totally unreputable, but it seemed like the series releases in 2022 now. I thought it was in 2021. That was from the D23 announcement. But they could begin shooting as late as 2020 or in 2021, giving a window of release in 2022. So we might have to wait even longer. I hope not. I'm hoping it would be late 2021 we get it. But, it's still a while away, so
There are plenty of Mark Spector Moon Knight issues that we can review week by week.
Oh,
so that should take us through.
Absolutely.
And Chad, there's a final bit here for news.
Just a little bit more about Keanu Reeves being courted by both DC and Marvel. I heard that on the topic of Keanu Reeves possibly being Nightmare for the what's it called? Doctor Strange 2. But
yes.
that was filled in by what's his face? David Tennant.
Oh, is that
He's
cast?
supposed to be the antagonist for. Yeah.
David Tennant?
Really? Nice.
So,
wow.
Not
That's
saying
big.
that he's Nightmare.
Yeah.
Not saying he's anyone specific yet.
Oh,
Just that he's.
but he's been
Yeah.
locked in. Okay. Well, I think
That ain't bad.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen Boss Logic wanting Eva Green as Nightmare, which would have been
Oh, I
cool.
love her.
From Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
She's really. Sorry, that's
And
my
she
cat
played
playing.
Vesper in
Yep.
Casino Royale.
Yes.
The
Yeah. Very
James
good.
Bond redo with what's his name?
Daniel Craig. Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And she was in the follow up to 300 as well, which I think I saw in passing
Memorable,
late
obviously.
at night, and it wasn't very good. But she's a really she has a powerful presence.
She does.
I think
yeah.
as an actor, she's beautiful.
Yep.
But she commands the stage, and she has in Penny Dreadful. It really
Yes.
she showcased, I think, her range, but she has this raspiness or this duskiness to her voice that just seems to command respect in a scene. And so I'd love to see her in the MCU.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see her as well.
I think that there's a lot of gravitas to her.
Yeah. Anyone who's seen Penny? Sorry.
I was just going to ask if anyone here has seen her in Camelot as Morgan Le Fay.
Rebecca says that's entirely why she watched the series. So
Is Camelot a current show?
I
Is
see.
it?
I see that
No,
nod.
it was one season and it shut down after, but it has the younger of the Fiennes brothers as Merlin, and her as Morgan Le Fay,
Okay.
and it is underappreciated. Yeah,
Oh, Joseph Fiennes.
Oh, it's good. Is it? Okay.
He played Will Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love, and he's been in a number of things. I think he's mostly become a stage actor
Okay.
over the last 15 or 20 years. But yeah, he's fantastic too.
Nice. Well, just pulling it back to Keanu with DC and Marvel, Constantine. They're looking at a Constantine sequel, and Marvel is still looking for him. Obviously, Nightmare's no longer on the cards. But anyway, anything else on Keanu? No. Yep, we're good.
Man's hot property.
Man's hot. He is Bill and Ted's.
Part 3.
It's great.
Matrix. There's news that there might be a Matrix 4.
Yes, I know that's
confirmed.
confirmed. Yeah.
Love the Matrix.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk
Yeah.
2071 or whatever, a video game coming out next year. So
Johnny Mnemonic. he was
I still
good.
haven't seen John Wick 3,
Oh.
but I'm sure it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, bit of a
But-
Keanu renaissance at the moment. Good on him. That's good. All right, look, we're just gonna
Renaissance.
we'll get there, loonies. We're almost there. We've got a couple of good things here to go through. A big spectacle here. I wanted to give some shout outs. First off, though, Chad, I'll put this in here. You wanted to give a huge shout out to a store.
Full Tilt in Columbia City recently got a very large haul of assorted Moon Knight comics, almost the entirety of Volume 1 in one go.
That's cool.
And yeah,
That's good. And at a good price,
the
I'm
entire
imagining as
thing
well.
for I think it was $32.
Ah, bloody hell. That's
Yeah.
We need that in Australia. They're robbing us here. But no, that's great. Full credit. Chad, was at Full Tilt. So a big shout out to those guys there. I know you spoke to them as well, Chad, didn't you? Mention the
they
show
said
or
that
something?
they're going to be giving us a little bump on their end, so that's
Yes.
really cool. Everyone working together.
Oh. Exactly. Well, we'll get the details from them. We'll check that in the show notes for sure. Chad's his Moon Knight collection has grown, and that's really good to see. It's good to see all the other Moonies and the other Loonies, collections being posted up on the group page as well. It's really fun to see. A couple of big announcements here. Now, first, a huge congratulations to friend of the show, fellow collective David Finn from the Signal of Doom. Want to give you a big congratulations, Dave. He proposed to his ever-suffering girlfriend, Michelle, and he proposed to her over a couple of days ago, and she said yes. So he's now officially engaged and put a ring on it, eh? So well done, Dave and Michelle. I've met her a few times. She's very lovely.
Congrats.
Yeah. So a big shout out there. Also, a huge congratulations to the man in the room here, Tommy, the man on the streets. Announcement made a little earlier on. Congratulations, Tommy, on the upcoming 3rd edition to the family.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. We've known for a while that baby will be born in January.
Mm-hmm.
So about the same time that Serpent War will be ending.
Yes. Excellent.
Very timely. I'll need probably a break from comics for a couple months as
Heresy.
we come back into it. But yeah, we're having a third child, and we actually we just found out the other day that it's going to be a girl.
Fantastic.
And I wanted to wait until birth, but it's my wife's choice, so we found out, and
nice one.
And so we're really excited because we have 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest has been featured on ITK before.
Yes,
He
Remy.
got to ask Max Bemis a couple questions, and he still loves that. He still loves listening back to that clip. So,
yeah.
But thank you, I appreciate that.
Great stuff. A little diatrist there on the way, Tommy. So, anyway, also
a future loony, a future lover of Moon Knight.
Yes, exactly. Excellent. And finally, as well, again, I wanted to give another shout out to Deleta. So they released their single box a few days ago, and their EP was released on Bandcamp Friday the 13th. By the time you listen to this, Loonies, a couple of days would have passed. So yeah, a big shout out to them. The Other Void, go check it out. Go to Bandcamp, go buy their EP. It all goes straight to them. And later it will be released on the likes of iTunes, Spotify, and such, which you can listen to. But really urge you to support your creative talents. So consider picking up this EP. They've also got a gig on the 14th. So again, that would have passed by the time you listen to this. And they have one coming up in late October. So if you like what you hear. And we'll play again their single at the end of this show. I think we've got that down there. But anyway, yes, look out for it. The Other Void, Deleta on their Bandcamp website. Anyway, fellas, I think it's about time. We are going to almost go review this annual. We're getting there, Loonies. First off, though, another big thing dropped this issue, and we have the next part of The Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter. This is episode 5. So we're going to leave you with this, and then we'll just go to a couple of messages for an ad break, and we'll be back with the review. But enjoy part 5 of The Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter. Be right back.
Ooh, my head.
Who would have thought grenades packed such a punch?
You and your gung-ho attitude. Jeez, Geronimo, subtlety is not your strong suit, is it?
Hey, that's what I do.
Right on, bro.
Man, we're still stuck here in Boskipper. Could have done with a lift to the Mooncopter with Rebecca and Ray.
Yeah, but we still got lots of work to do here. Anything come of the hit we did on the cartel?
You mean this cartel?
What the?
You are surrounded, cabron. You have pissed off the wrong cartel.
Look, Mr. Crime Lord, you'll have to excuse my partner and I, but we certainly can't conduct a proper discussion under these circumstances.
Okay? What did you mean?
Geronimo?
There. Now that we have your undivided attention, I want you to tell us about all you know of any illegal artifacts coming into Baskerville. You're from the Southern District, so we know you have a stranglehold over the docks and seaside bars in the city. There must be some shipments that have come in that seem out of the ordinary. Before you get well acquainted with Lowwind here, I suggest you spill, Phil.
Oh, okay. See. But my name is not Phil.
What is it then? Capone? Soprano? The Kingpin?
No, it's Bob.
Bob?
See.
Signor Bob.
See, but I'm not the hombre you want.
Oh?
Yes, see. Our cartel, the Culo Grande. We only deal in hard drugs and trade in firearms. Just small things, you know?
Leatherwood's getting impatient, Bob.
Sure, see. Yes, all of the local bosses from the south up to the north, we're all running scared. There is a new group moving in on our territories, taking all over the air shipments, controlling the red light districts, shipping relics and valuable antiques in and out of the country.
The name, Bob. Who are these goons?
They call themselves the Serpiente Tecaos.
Serpents of Chaos?
See, they're bad luck, cabron. They spell bad luck.
Any way we can find these Serpents of Chaos?
Look for a tattoo at the back of the neck. A snake that look like a dragon.
Good to know. Bob, you're coming with us. Cold case. Looks like we need to pay a visit to one of these serpents, and Bob here is the man that can take us.
Let's head to one of our safe houses. I don't like the attention you generated. A blown-up bar and an army of dead gangsters can't spell good fortune for us.
Hey, at least we're not dead.
Yeah, how did we survive that grenade, by the way?
Beats me. Seems like whoever's writing this serial seems to want us to hang around for a bit.
Let's move.
Let me just... Fire in the hole!
Come on, man.
Hello, this is the voice of Noel from the musical group Deleter. Check out our extended play record, The Other Void, based on the Marvel character Moon Knight. It's available September 13th, or you can check out our single now, Box, streaming at deleter.bandcamp.com.
Yes, Looney listeners, welcome back. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast episode 113. You are here with myself, Khonshu, Chad, and Tommy. And what you heard there before the ad break was another part to the Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter, episode 5, featuring Josh Geronimo Johnson. Oh, that could be them. And Dustin Coldcase Kurtz, still stuck in Boscoverde. Guys, things are heating up in this serial. Any ideas what might happen next? Don't know. Chad, you've been belted by cosmic rays. You'll be turning up soon. Tommy, you're coming up soon. I know that.
Well, I'm not, but the man on the streets.
Oh, sorry, the man on the streets.
He is deep in his investigation, and he's trying to scrounge some leads.
Yep.
And he's got a couple connections that he's meeting at these shifty hole-in-the-wall places and dives in the city. And so I think that, I don't know, he's up to something. He's trying to figure something out.
And Connor, we haven't heard from you in a while, but we know things are brewing your end of the investigation.
Sadly, yes, I will make my return sometime in the future.
Yes. Yes. Connor's, he submitted his vocals in. It's all looking good, Loonies. like if you want to be part of this, just let us know. We really do try and include everyone in here. Can write you in easily. It's a lot of fun. We've got a couple of other loonies who are keen. So a little shout out to Matt and to Muhammad who want to join in. I'm very happy to have you in. So just going to be keeping riding this baby until, I don't know, something bursts. Anyway, loonies, we are here to review the main event, the Moon Knight Annual, Volume 2, Issue 1. And this is available in floppy, single format, but also you can pick it up digitally from Comixology or the Marvel app, or I think that's about it, or Kindle, as well. So available in a few formats. Just want to give a little note as well. There were 3 variant covers too. So if you were picking up the single, there are 3 versions for your eyes to feast on. Connor, do we have the credits here?
We sure do. Love to accurately credit people because it's pretty good. So this was released just this week, September 11th, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Ibrahim, Moustafa, and Matt Horak, colorist Mike Spicer, letters VC's Joe Sabino, and editor Lauren Amaro.
Excellent. And since this is a new comic book, what we're going to do is go to our classic format, so no sliver. We're going to get a substantial bare bones from Tommy here, just to give you a synopsis of the issue. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the aspects. Now, the aspects are generally the writing, the artwork, the themes, characterizations, and any references to other runs, any continuity quirks, or anything that we need to know from any other issues. We're going to try to go through this thing. We're going to nitpick this baby apart. But before that, and we're going to end with a moon rating, highly convoluted moon rating system. Connor, you just provided one not that long ago. I like your one, but I can't remember all of the ratings there. Very, very cool indeed.
Oh, don't worry, I have that ready.
Oh, excellent. Okay, well, let's use that then. So we'll all rate this, but before we go into that, Tommy, why don't you give us the bare bones?
Kang the Conqueror goes head-to-head with Khonshu's Faithful, a devoted collective that have usurped Kang's powers to bend time with 3 relics of immortal power. Though Kang is able to reshape reality with his vast power over time, Khonshu's avatars are left as the anomalies in each and every which one of those. They become the only force able to stop Kang and his plan for domination. Mark Spector, the Moon Knight, and avatar of vengeance of our time and space, soon finds himself embroiled in the eternal and ever-repeating battle between Khonshu and Kang. Khonshu, a father figure of Kang, feels the need to reprimand him for seeking the totems stolen from his temple. Since Khonshu opposes Kang, Mark is able to seek out and enter time rifts in order to foil Kang's plan to stop him gaining these totems. Kang claims the Ankh, which allows him to control time, but Mark soon nabs the Scarab, which allows him to cut through time uncontrollably. Battles rage from the Wild West, ancient Rome, 18th century Boston, 1920 Chicago, 19th century London, and even on the high seas of the early 18th century. The far-flung future, and even 4000 BC Mesopotamia. What seems to be the Moon Knight Prime sits atop a hill with the scepter, the final totem of Kang's. Kang and Moon Knight arrive, and in the melee, Moon Knight manages to grab the scepter, linking the 3 totems together, and for a split second, he has the power. All the Moon Knights from every timeline are summoned, and Kang is defeated. Moon Knight Prime claims the 3 totems, and after banishing Kang, she departs, protecting the totems in a dimension void of time.
That was the bare bones for this annual, a bumper time-travelling, adventure for Moon Knight and Kang. Something very different. We all were going, wow, Moon Knight and Kang, this is weird. But anyway, before we get into the aspects, guys, Chad, did you enjoy this comic? Holistically, what were your thoughts? Was it...
I did not mind the fact that there was no face ripping, so there's that. I really liked it. I have kind of like a fascination with time paradoxes, and the fact that they closed it and there were no issues on that front, it's important to me.
Yeah, nice. Connor, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I you know, it was just a good old fashioned good time. You know, just a simple concept executed really well. A lot of fun, good ideas. Actually, had quite a bit more bite in the ending than I was expecting, so that was quite a nice note to leave it on. And yeah, I think if the rest of the Acts of Evil was as good and as, I think, well thought out and fleshed out as this issue, I think it would have been a bit more of a hit. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely one of the better Acts of Evil in my eyes, rivaling, I think, the Deadpool annual. Other than that, the others I thought were pretty average. Not sure if you guys have read any of them as well. How about you, Tommy? What were your thoughts?
I have to admit, pleasantly surprised. You know, when it comes to annuals, Moon Knight has had a couple, and as a fan, I love them. I've never really been as impressed with what might be a one-shot, but might actually buy into the continuity for this character. Than with this issue. I remember I read it in the car outside my comic shop before I got home, and I absolutely loved it. It has the mythos of Moon Knight and Khonshu. There's a bit of magic with these artifacts that are blended in. Again, it buys into, as we mentioned before, and we'll dig into in a moment, some of the Bemis run, and taking some of the creative points that he added in his writing and uses it here. So I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun, and we'll rate it later, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, excellent. I really enjoyed it when I first read it. I thought it was great. It was a really fun read. It was a nice one shot. Having prepared for this review and going through it with a little bit more scrutiny, I have come up with a couple of questions, and I think I may have exposed a few holes in it. Either that or I'm just dumb. I don't know. But yeah, there were a few inconsistencies in this upon second reading. But first time I read it, I really enjoyed it. It was a really wholesome kind of adventure. So anyway, let's go into writing first. Okay, so I've written a few notes here first. So I've identified the plot devices in this annual, and the first one obviously are the relics, these totems, pretty much MacGuffins. They don't really do too much. They're just sought after mainly. They start to come into effect a bit later on. But what did you guys think of this as a plot device? Sounding very similar to our serial, Tommy, you mentioned.
Golden Scepter, check it out.
That's it. But yeah, was this a fun thing?
Sue for copyright infringement.
But Connor, yeah, what did you think of for these three things? One, to chew through time; one, to control time; and one, to focus time. Connor?
Oh, sorry. That was my fault. Look like that for a second. Yeah, I mean, they're fine. I think this story works best simply, where, you know, the importance of this issue is that there is an evil to be defeated, and there is hijinks along the way, and just whatever kind of helps you get there if you just fit into one issue. And they're pretty cool looking, you know.
Yeah, true. I mean, they do have their effect in there as well. So Kang does grab the Ankh, which allows him to control time. And with that, and I'll get through this, one of these little things that were bugging me, he managed to, and he's the master of time, right? But with this Ankh, he's managed to recreate a reality. He changes a reality. I didn't realise he could do that. I thought he was much in the scope of time and time manipulation. Anyway, Kang's got that. Moon Knight gets a scarab one, which allows him to not have to use the time rifts and actually to just go through time. So we see him go to Rome, to London, you know, to the 18th, 19th century.
To Yeehaville.
Yeehaville. And the final one,
Silver Gulch, Utah. Thanks.
and the last one.
Pretty sure that's Ye Harville, Chad. Just.
And the last one in Mesopotamia, which focuses time, apparently, that brings all three totems together. I don't know, Chad, any thoughts on these? Did you give it much thought, or was it just like, devices to get us through to the story?
Well, each one of those time periods were obvious, like, points or schism in different, ethnicities and their background. Obviously with the, what's it called? In London, that's where they had Jack the Ripper going.
Mm-hmm.
1776 Boston, American Revolution. They, of course, had a point in time with, Nazi Germany, the Silver Company.
Yes.
I'm not sure what they're trying to really say about this. Like, it felt like they were trying to go with another piece of the story that we're not connecting. Like, somehow all these are connected on their own.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. How they came about the scarab, how they came about the Ankh, you mean? Yeah. That's an adventure in itself. Yeah.
It just felt like they're going for another color to their space.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Tommy, on these relics used for the plot?
As it comes with comics, I don't walk into my Moon Knight comics expecting that this is going to shift the way that people think about the medium. And so I just had fun.
Yeah.
Even Ray, as you mentioned, that these are just used as MacGuffins. They're things that Moon Knight has to chase after. I just really had a lot of fun. There's something that is really powerful in a well-told story, and I don't know how many pages this is. I'm looking at my floppy in front of me. But I think that Cullen Bunn did a really good job of taking a story and fitting it into one issue with lots of action. And even if they are just cheap little plot devices that take character from point A to point B, the whole journey and how he got there was a lot of fun for me. And I'm looking at it's not quite the centerfold page, it's just after, but this is the page that has, or the two pages that have ancient Rome, Boston, Chicago, London, North Atlantic, and the ruins of New York in 2134. And just looking at these even panels on both pages at the same time and knowing that time travel is happening instantly is just it's a lot of fun. It's great.
Oh, look, I don't oppose that at all. Totally, I really enjoyed it as well. I'm just being on the just being the devil's advocate here, just trying to find things here, trying to question a few things.
Just a fucking pessimist.
because it was a very enjoyable story, but then I was reading it, and a lot of it. Okay, I'm going to skip a couple of the plot devices. A lot of it, I don't know, didn't make sense. So, so one thing, Kang made these totems, right? He made these totems. He instilled a portion of his power in them, and they were in a temple, but they were stolen by the Khonshu followers. So he's angry that they stole them from him, but he's happy when he grasps it because he says something along the lines of, okay, now I can do this. Like almost as if it's granting him more power than he has. But if he made them at the beginning, surely they wouldn't be more powerful than himself. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Am I confusing? Yeah. No takers.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I was just flipping back to this is the first several pages where
me too. I'm kind of just reading through.
Yeah.
Khonshu and Kang are now outside the time stream, and let me just mention for a moment that here we see a version of Khonshu. He's humanoid. He has like a royal or godlike, the Pantheon regalia on. He has his proper golden scepter.
Yes. Cute nips.
And he doesn't have the bird face.
Yeah.
It's not the Bushman face. It's just a flat face. You can see dimensions of his nose, but really it's more akin to the Moon Knight flat mask. And this is really where they're having their conversation. So, Ray, I absolutely hear what you're saying. But it does seem to, as we mentioned in the in our bare bones, that Khonshu has this father figure status to Kang.
Yeah, but
that's another. He says, "You were my child."
That's another plot hole. Why? I don't understand the connection between Khonshu. He's a protector of the Travelers of the Night. He said, "I'm protecting you, Kang." So is Kang a Traveler of the Night?
But Khonshu says all travelers.
Yeah.
It's not just
like
travelers
everyone's
of the night.
God's children, Christian, Catholic.
So then
not.
Khonshu now expands more than just nighttime. He expanded to time as well, and that was shown at the beginning where Khonshu. What does it say?
Well, travelers of time, not necessarily time. Maybe time is tangential. It's
travelers of
Kang is a traveler of time,
but Khonshu,
so therefore he's a traveler.
But Khonshu is a travelers of the night, but he does say all travelers. Okay, but essentially we understood him before as being someone that watches over the denizens of the night, travelers of the night. In the first page, the worshippers say, "These items we consecrate to you, O Khonshu, protector of travelers in the night, guardians of travelers through time." So Cullen Bunn has expanded the scope of Khonshu's, role now, and so that's a point of difference, I think, which hasn't been brought up before. And so, that made me question, why is Khonshu considering himself watching over Kang? Okay, so he's watching over Kang because he's a traveler of time.
In the Greek pantheon, at least, taking, say, like a contemporary view and combining many, many, many works from ancient Greece and then classical Greece, Zeus, who is always seen as the god of the gods, of the Olympians, after killing his father, after killing Kronos, is seen as the god, too, of travelers, or of guests to the home. And so maybe what Cullen Bunn is doing here is maybe he is adding something to Khonshu. Maybe he is changing that aspect or that mythos around this Egyptian god as presented in the MCU. But it does seem that he is making Khonshu, or raising Khonshu to a higher status, so that maybe Khonshu, just like Zeus, is the watcher of travelers, the keeper of visitors to the home, or guests. Mm-hmm. Maybe Khonshu is doing that now. And so again, I absolutely agree. Kang, I guess, is a traveler. He's a traveler through time. That's what the Khonshu in this issue mentions. But I guess I didn't see that so much as a plot hole, just as Cullen Bunn is taking the Khonshu character in a new direction. Yep. And again, for me, that I don't mind that, because that opens up some new paths for Moon Knight in the future. And I really like the idea that Khonshu maybe has some substance in in 616 or in Marvel Comics, and isn't just something created by Mark and his mind. Yeah. So
okay, it is a good take. Actually, so us going through that now, that kind of makes a little bit more sense now. If we had to go with the fact that Cullen has said, okay, travelers of time as well as night, a part of Khonshu's thing. Okay, I'm going to throw a few things at you guys then. These are some of my findings then. Okay, so our Mark Spector Moon Knight, he is now, in our present, he's able to traverse these time rifts because of Khonshu and Kang having some sort of opposition, with these totems. Why is it Mark Spector that is able to do this? Why aren't any of the other Moon Knights able to do this? Mark's the one that actually traverses all the time. He is one avatar, but he's only one. Like the one in Mesopotamia, the one in the Wild West, they're all on equal footing, aren't they, to Mark Spector as Moon Knights?
I think it's just right place, right time. This horrible future seems to be where Khonshu's faith is the most strongest since the original Egyptian days, and it's this horrible future where everything's sort of been messed up, and it's just kind of this is where Kang, almost the point of singularity for Kang and the items, and that's where the rift opens up. So I think it's just right place, right time.
I will counter that.
Yeah,
I will counter that, Connor, though. But in the Wild West, the Cowboy Moon Knight does also say there ain't no heroes anymore. So it seems like Kang has affected his timeline as well. So what makes that any different from our timeline, which is messed up?
Less Yeehaws.
I guess I read this not necessarily as separate timelines, which I guess, again, buying into Avengers Endgame, where Hulk has the astral projection with...
Ancient One.
What's her name? With the Ancient One, I was trying to think...
Tilda Swinton?
The actor's name, but with Tilda Swinton. That these are actually all within just one single new timeline. So all of those dates that we see when Moon Knight is entering into them, even though he is technically changing that possible timeline, it's all the same time.
It's along the same thread.
So I guess, yeah. So as I was reading that, as Connor mentioned, it's right place, right time, and this is the third page of the present timeline. So when we have the opening, there's the Kang Tower. It says now. And we have the introduction of Mark Spector, Moon Knight. The third page into that, Khonshu appears to Mark, but the penitent here, the priests, they can't see Khonshu, but they can see Mark, and they know that Khonshu is appearing to Mark Spector, Moon Knight. Khonshu says to him that I'm struggling to maintain a foothold in this place. And so I agree with Connor that maybe by this point, call it 2019 or whatever the year is, that's the breaking point. That's when Khonshu has to give the rest of his power or inspiration into Moon Knight to go back and go through that initial time rift in the brick wall and then recorrect everything. So is it the most inventive story? No, but I guess to me, I didn't necessarily see that as a problem with Bunn's writing.
Yeah.
I saw that just as this is how he's choosing to, Mark Spector, this is the hero's journey.
Yeah.
In the present timeline, Mark Spector doesn't believe that Khonshu still is there. He thinks that Khonshu's abandoned them, but the priests of Khonshu, the priests of the moon, still have faith.
Yes.
Mark Spector doesn't want to go off on some crazy adventure, but Khonshu comes along. Here's the mentor figure. Here's the Obi-Wan character.
Yeah.
The priests call him, and then Mark Spector decides to go into the rift. So it's to me, it's classic hero's journey. It's the hero doesn't want to leave, but he's motivated to leave, and then he quests, and then there's some return at the end, even though there is the sacrifice of the Mesopotamian first Moon Knight or first Avatar in that female character.
Yeah, look, I'm sufficiently satisfied, I think, with that response. Seriously, because like I said, I did really enjoy this issue. I was just going through this. I was really trying to, because time, as you know, is a time traveling
fickle thing.
Things are very, it can get very convoluted and difficult. No, but that actually, that is a good reasoning that this is a pinch point, and on top of that, as you say, these timelines are all along the same thread, so that works. Happy. Okay. Cool. Other time. Okay. Other little plot holes I had here. Not plot holes, but I think they're a little loose. So the three totems are damaged somehow from the crescent darts thrown at them. Now, come on, that's a little too easy, isn't it? I mean, how hardy are these things? They're made out of metal, right? Like they broke it. Like, geez, I've got a Blu-ray player that is a lot more sturdy than that. I can jiggle that around and it still works.
But remember who the producer is. Like, where was your Blu-ray player made? Is it a Sony product? Was it made in Japan, or was it made by Kang?
That's true. Kang
is known as a poor producer. He uses terrible materials. Right. He basically uses plastic.
Sure.
So, Ray, I'm trying to find that image. Is it toward the end of the issue where Mark Spector, Moon Knight, throws a crescent dart into one of the artifacts?
Oh no, it's at the beginning. It's the Khonshu priest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in the temple.
Yeah, and it's behind Kang's back, so he throws it, quite covertly, and it hits them. And apparently that changes it because he can't do what he can. He gets Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Anyway, I just wanted to.
Well, maybe there is. That's the weak point. Who knows? Maybe the crescent dart that was thrown by the priest of Khonshu there. Khonshu channeled his energy into the priest and directed that crescent dart, and it hit the one weak point. It hit the motherboard of the Ankh.
I mean, can I just say that the Ankh is made of gold? It's extremely soft. I mean, you can literally hammer gold thin enough that you can see through it. So there's that, and like in the past, Mark Spector's been able to throw his, crescent darts with the finesse to cut a bullet in half.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, adamantium though. I mean, these could be some sort of vibranium or adamantium thing. We don't know. Look, we're getting into too much, I guess. I apologise for it. Okay, voicings though, guys. What did you think of the voicings in general? Did you like the way that Kang, Khonshu, and Moon Knight basically were voiced? Chad?
Moon Knight just kind of felt... Well, Mark Spector, Moon Knight. He felt kind of empty. He just didn't really have any character added to him. And that's just my opinion, but... I mean...
I totally agree with that, actually. Yeah.
He was just an empty cowl.
Yeah. He was. Did you find any of you guys find that a little bit? Were you irked by that, Connor? Or
in a longer story, I think we could have had more, and I think Kang as well. Kang can be a really fun, over the top character when you have the time to give him a full arc. I think I've always liked the idea that Moon Knight is as much a personality as Mark or Steven or Jake. So I think, for an annual, you can't really, you've got to keep things moving. I think it works.
Okay. And how about you, Tommy? Solid voice?
Yeah, I agree that for this issue, like if this were part of a longer run, I think I'd be disappointed because there's no development of this character. Yeah, it's just Moon Knight. He's fighting some people. He's fighting Kang. He's fighting Kang's followers. He's throwing some crescent darts. And Loonies, let me admit, I love that. I just love some good action. I want to see Moon Knight do some beat 'em up because, after the Bemis run, that was a very cerebral digging into Moon Knight's mind. And after the Lemire run, it's been quite a while since we've just seen some good action from our favorite character.
Yeah.
But I think that for the annual, I was not bothered by that. I did not walk into an annual thinking that this is going to lead to something else. There's going to be some change in the character, and you have to buy this and have to read this.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. There was good action, even though there wasn't much development of character. There's the doubt at first, and again coming back to this is the hero that doesn't want to leave his time. He doesn't believe that Khonshu's still there, but then Khonshu appears and tells him, "No, you got to go do this for me." And he's like, "Okay, fine, I'll help you." And he restores a balance to the galaxy, I guess, or to the universe.
Yeah.
So that it really didn't bother me, but I absolutely agree that it as Chad said, Chad, I think you phrased it really well with he's just an empty cowl. This could be any masked character. This could be any caped character or any cowled character. To a degree, but it didn't bother me.
Okay.
I recommend that we buy or Loonies buy this issue.
Yeah. I think that Mark does take a back seat more in this story more than anything. I think Kang and Khonshu are probably the prime movers and shakers here, and Mark and the other Moon Knights are pretty much. Well, Mark is the muscle, so I guess that's why he doesn't get too much of a real kind of fleshing out of his voicing. Sorry, Connor.
No, that's so good. I totally agree with that. But there were actually there were points I really I really liked what I went into this expecting the empty cow, which I think is maybe the biggest help with my liking of this issue, compared to some of what you guys said, which just how it went, I guess. But I think there was quite a few touches. I think there are a few nice moments where Khonshu, Mark challenges Khonshu. One point where he says, but it seems you've got plenty of lambs to send to the slaughter. True. And he questions the suffering of the Mesopotamian woman who will be without time, without, a life, basically. And I think in this new era of Khonshu and Mooney we're heading into, I think those are some nice seeds from Bunn that I hope will flow on. So...
Well, Moonight's definitely been compassionate as well. There have been those phases that he's had, no pun intended, of when he tries to, in Mark Spector Moon Knight, where he tries to talk criminals out of their crimes rather than beat the hell out of them. Remember, he turned a leaf shortly after the Scarlet Redemption. So there are times when he kind of, I think, rediscovered his faith. And I think this is kind of what's happening here as well. So I guess you can almost, with references, link it to those times. It's happened a couple of times. I can't remember the other time, but the one that sticks out to me is after the Scarlet Redemption, where he does become more compassionate. He becomes almost a pacifist, and he negotiates rather than fights. So here he's showing compassion to the first Moon Knight from Mesopotamia, talking to Khonshu at the end. Look, we better roll through this. Look, art wise, then. Well, actually, sorry guys, I wanted to go back. This question mark here I had. Okay, this is.
I was wondering what that topic was.
Yeah,
it's just question.
I'd like you to explain to me this. There's a bit of confused writing for me from Cullen Bunn. Okay, so this is at the end. Khonshu's talking to Moon Knight. He says, "You have ensured the items will be protected, ensured that Kang and the first of my knights will never exist at the same instance again." So what the hell does that mean? What has happened? They've been banished to...
Kang has to get a team of thunderbolts together to go extract those artifacts for him, and then he will regain that power. So again, Ray, going back to... that comment of like, why would Kang create these artifacts that seem to give or be more powerful than him? And I'm just wondering if maybe these artifacts, while they appear as these ancient workings of gold, as Chad mentioned, maybe they are incorporating some of the technology that Kang has access to in his time travel.
Yeah.
And maybe much like our devices, our computers, our tablets allow us to connect to one another across the world, maybe these things that he's created are simply amplifying his power, or they're giving him access to new dimensions of his power. And so if Khonshu was able to, through this original avatar of the 4000 BC or BCE character here, ensure that Kang cannot ever access these artifacts because they are with her and they can never be together at the same time. Again, I didn't understand that, but I do buy into the idea that if Kang ever wants to gain these MacGuffins again, he's going to have to send somebody else to do the job for him.
Okay.
And that potentially that's a plot line that could happen later on in the comics.
Yeah, because it sounded very nice, but when you do reread it, it really just doesn't make too much sense, or I can't really understand how that happens without more explanation. Chad, can you elucidate for us any idea how she can never be... she'll never exist in the same instance as Kang again? Because he can traverse different times, right? I mean, so they're in different realities.
Well, it sounded like she was trapped in a pocket universe or something like that, judging by the way that she was separated from everything outside of time. Time is only applying to our dimension. Outside of our dimension, that's completely different.
Right, so she's outside of all of that. Okay, right. So
Excellent. They'd have to send someone into the other dimension to go fetch those things, but it would have to be taken away from her because she exists in her own time outside of it. So she has already made contact with those totems. If they try to take them away, she's brought back out of her own time period. So she would basically be free to change everything after, but she would always have to return to that dimension.
Okay, cool.
There's also the question of faith, though, right, and belief.
Yes, that's a big theme for sure. I've got that in.
And that again is something that comes directly out of the Bemis run. So for as much criticism as our last Moon Knight run received, the power, at first it's explored as the power of crazy, but then by the end of the series, it really comes to a belief. And if you believe, and this is where that Cthulhu mythos comes in, where Khonshu is taking Mark and Steven and Jake on that cerebral journey, and they see that image of this is in the Max Bemis run of a Cthulhu-like god in the distance. It does seem to be, at least within Cullen Bunn's run, that this follower, so the Mesopotamian follower, she's the first. I think the line is she has clarity of vision, or she has clarity of faith, or something like that. And if that is the root, if that is the origin of the faith in Khonshu, whether Khonshu appeared to her, and so that's what the point of faith, or if this character created her own faith in Khonshu, maybe she, by just believing that a Khonshu or a Khonshu-like god exists, therefore Khonshu was created. It's the strength of the faithful, it's the strength of the body of the faithful that give power to Khonshu, or give power to the god. And so, again, Chad, what you just discussed, I think is wow, that's a really, really interesting way to look at it. But I think at the same time, there's something that Bunn is tying in with belief, something that he's tying in with faith. Absolutely. That is part of that equation too.
Absolutely.
It's wild. It's wild. I mean, an average reader, I don't know if this is super welcoming, but at the same time, as a fan of Moon Knight, and the fact that it's bringing up discussion like this, and it's bringing up different perspectives, I think is awesome. That's what I love about the character.
I think it's succeeded in the fact that we all said on the first reading it was very enjoyable. It was a nice kind of fun, action-packed tale, and it is. And then, as you say, we can actually open this discussion to a lot more. And so I think Cullen Bunn has succeeded a lot in providing us something on face value is very enjoyable, but actually something that can generate some discussion as well. So, so I think that's a very big positive for it. Okay, look, let's just jump, Tommy, because you touched upon it. Let's just jump down to references to other runs. So you first said this obviously references Max Bemis's run with the Legacy. So I found that was issue 190, where we see Moon Knight throughout the ages. This was something that new that Bemis introduced in there. The second one that I had was I thought it was a little nod to the Warren Ellis run, Moon Knight, Volume 7, Issue 2. That famous saying, "I'm not real." So in this story, someone says, "Some of us had started to believe that you were a myth," and then Mark responds, "That's exactly what I am." So I thought that was pretty badass, response. Bit of a nice one-liner there, and I think that was kind of like the "I'm not real" thing. And then there's a last one down here as well, Tommy, on top of what you've mentioned as well about the faith. The future of Khonshu. Was that your note, or whose note is that?
That was mine. I just chucked it. I just think it's very interesting. With Bemis. Jesus, there goes my voice. Bemis with the avatars of history that is touched upon again. Aaron setting up this massive mummy-filled Moon Knight fight. The Conan God-filled series, and now this annual. Khonshu is a force to be reckoned with now. He really is the protector of all travelers of the night. He's someone who's now a big part of this universe, and I think this kind of almost consolidates that Mark's going to be playing quite a bigger role going forward in Marvel Comics. So that's pretty dope. That ain't there's about 70,000 different direction Moon Knight's has gone in, and this is the way he's going forward. We'll have to see how it pans out, but It's at least one way to get them in front of people.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So,
It's
right on.
very exciting. It seems to be going in a different direction, but it all seems quite positive. And I think Bunn is laying a few of the seeds, as well as you said, Aaron as well, and Zub in the Conan upcoming mini. With art, then. Okay, so what did everyone think of art? Chad, I'll throw it to you.
Loved it.
You loved it.
I think that was Connor.
Yeah, Connor. How about you, Chad? Did you like it as well?
I was going to let Chad.
I really liked the cover, like the original cover with was it Barreto and Tan? Like it just looked really righteous, like just throwing shadows everywhere. It was very beautiful,
very good
and
cover.
As far as inside the comic book, it felt like a classic, like Moon Knight. Like it wasn't extremely stylized like Shelby. It wasn't like extremely absurdist or anything. No. It just seemed very status quo. Like it was like whoever was like, behind the ideals, they were going with like an actual comic book. They weren't going with strange new grounds. And I just thought it was good.
Well, that's good. Yeah, so quite appropriate for Moon Knight and his tales. Tommy, as well, did you enjoy it?
I really did. There's a lot of interesting design of panels, mostly straight lines on the borders of the panels, but some good bleeds where Moon Knight's shape, especially early on in those first few pages where we have that priest of Khonshu or the head priest of Khonshu. I know there's a panel where he kind of bleeds out of there, and Khonshu is made to seem larger than reality. I thought the style of all the Moon Knights through history was really interesting. Silver Gulch.
Yeah, I like them.
In the 19th century, I love the World War II kind of commando.
Yeah.
The design was really great there. Kang, I've never really liked Kang as a character. I think I just need to read more of maybe a lot of those Avengers comics from back in the day. But I thought that, and I think, Chad, this comes back to a comment that you made about the cover, just how shadows are used, and it just looks awesome. It's a killer cover. But even though the two cover artists, and I can't really tell who was responsible for what, but Tan and Barreto, same thing with Moustafa and Horak as the artists of the issue. Yeah. They seem to take a lead from the cover, or maybe the cover took a lead from their own art within the issue, which makes more sense. But just on the use of like cross hatching for shadows, and it added a type of darkness to the issue. So even though it is kind of a poppy hero's journey adventure story, there does seem to be that little bit of darkness that always adds something interesting to Moon Knight's character. He is not Captain America. He's not Captain Marvel. There's always something lurking in the shadows, and I really feel that the art design, and Chad, again, as you mentioned, the shadows brings that about in the issue.
Yeah. Look, I think it was great. I thought actually the cover was the same as the artist in the inside, it's Moustafa, but it's exactly as you say. There was a consistency there, Chad. Sorry, Tommy. I'm going to be a little bit pessimistic. I thought the hero shots were fantastic. For the most part of it, 90%, maybe 80% of the art was really good. I felt a few of the panels did seem a little rushed, a little too stylized, almost. And so I guess we were treated with a lot of the night, like, so there's that spread where, if you look at any of the hero shots, there's a spread where Kang is fighting the cowboy. Moon Knight, absolutely brilliant. For the most part, Kang looks, I think, awesome in this whole issue. But then again, you look at, I was looking at the first panel of the second page with the Kang sympathizers running up. To me, it looked like a totally different artist. I know it probably isn't, but it just had a different vibe to it. and I'm not a fan of that kind of art. I know Moustafa's doing it all, but his hero shots of Moon Knight, on a whole, Moon Knight himself was fantastic. I think he looks really good.
Well, the artists are listed as Ibrahim, Moustafa, and Matt Horak. Does anybody know why those are split? Like, who was responsible for what?
Good question. I don't know. They could have split it, because I'm wondering if that is a different artist. And then there are other shots where, like, you get massive detail on Moon Knight and Khonshu and Kang in some shots, and then you get really bare details on, say, 1920s Moon Knight. When they all come together. Some of the panels, I don't know, it just felt a little underdone to me, and I wonder whether that was a rush or whether it is someone else doing it, Tommy. So there were a few inconsistencies. On a whole, though, the colouring I loved. I mean, you're always going to get good colours with Kang, blue, purples, greens. You got a lot of these lightning bolts and time rifts and stuff, so it is quite dynamic, and it's surprising, because Moon Knight, obviously, predominantly white, but
those last few pages too, where each of the artifacts takes on like the green color,
that's
the
cool,
purple color, the blue color, that mixture of color there was beautiful,
just sparingly used.
It was stretched out over a couple pages too. It wasn't just one panel.
Sparingly used, so you get this really nice visual, like, color assault towards the end, and that's what you want, because these three totems are coming together. Okay, excellent. And everyone enjoyed how did everyone enjoy Moon Knight's costume? It's obviously the classic white one, all white. I mean, we've seen so many different costumes of Moon Knight recently. That's actually more closer to the Bemis one, right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, I've always been a big vocal supporter of the Burroughs suit, and this one kind of follows on quite nicely.
Yeah, it's very much the Burroughs. Very much the Burroughs suit. Chad, like it?
Last week in Punisher 15, though,
massive
given he had some shoulder pads, if you recall, it too was but still all white, but there seemed to be more angles. So with the Bemis suit, it seemed to be more flowing and more smooth, and I think that really just comes out of the art design from that series. But again, with the all-white suit here, everything, like the peak of the cowl almost looks like a crescent blade, and that was reflected in last week's Punisher 15 as well. So maybe this is the razor sharp edge look that is going to continue for the next few comics.
And into the TV show. Who knows? Okay, finally, and then look, we'll wrap this up with characterization. We've still got like a heap of feedback to go through, guys. We've got characterizations here. So with Moon Knight, I thought, okay, hardly any talk of his identities. There's one line that he gives. I'm too conflicted. He gives up the totems to the Mesopotamian Moon Knight because he knows he's not able to hold those three totems. I'm assuming because he's got this conflict of identities in him. That's the only allusion towards his identities that we get. How did you guys feel about this lack of acknowledging identities in Moon Knight?
Yeah, no, I just said this before. It's understandable that they're not there.
Yep.
Just, I'd love for a longer story. I think it'd be really interesting to see how everyone else struggled with facing this, but. Moon Knight. I always liked Moon Knight as a personality. So,
yep. Okay, cool. Chad,
I thought that was
yourself?
a very Mark thing to do. Like acknowledging the fact that he was too conflicted. That he's essentially, borrowing terms he wasn't worthy to be able to make such a choice. So he just took the logical way out and just said, "Nah, screw it. Give it to the person that basically knows what the hell to do with it. The mother of the cult."
Yeah, exactly. It's a very smart thing, really, to do.
Ooh, Chad, the mother of the cult.
Mother of the cult.
I like that.
I really like the costume as well. Nothing much more to say there. Tommy, did you? Yeah, you enjoyed it as well?
Yeah, I did. And again, as I was just trying to show in our broadcast here, if anybody is watching, but I just read, this is an annual. This is, for all intents and purposes, this is a one-shot for the most part.
Absolutely.
Maybe it will remain in the 616 continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is in the 616 continuity. So I again saw it more as if I had a friend that I wanted to get into Moon Knight and they just were going to buy one issue, or I was going to give them one issue, I might just say, hey, look at this one. You don't have to know about the depth of the character. It's a great action comic. There's a good story that's closed at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to talk about it after, then we can talk about all those great things of Moon Knight that I love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, I think it's time, guys, that we should give this a rating. Okay, so I'm going to start just... Oh, and actually also just a little announcement to anyone who is actually tuned into this broadcast. We are clocking up almost to 2 hours. I just got a message that the recording will stop for the broadcast, but we'll continue. So don't worry, guys. I mean, we're all recording. Listeners or people tuning in now, you can hear it all over again in a podcast, so, and you can hear the last bits. But anyway, let's go to the moon rating system here. I'll start. Khonshu, out of 10. Have you got your special rating system there? Why don't we just use that? What would you give it?
Oh, Jesus, I do. Okay. Thanks to Chad pulling that back up.
It is special, indeed.
No, I really like this. I mean, I definitely get some of the nitpicks you have with some of the things, but I think this was just a solid idea, done really well, done really simply. Obviously, different avatars, different time is always just a good time. I love Cowboy Man. I love Mesopotamian woman. She has those sick bone claws. What
cool.
a mask!
Yeah, scary.
I really like the art. I think, I've always been a fan of more stylized, but I really fell in love with the line work and the rigid, solid paneling for this time-based story. And yeah, like Tommy said, I think this really is just something fun to give to someone who possibly isn't familiar with Mark. It's just a good, solid action comic, and I think I mentioned before there's some bite there that I hope continues on later on. So all rounds, was a big fan of this. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Just a big, beautiful yellow man. Just a high up there in the sky shining upon me bright.
Big, beautiful yellow man. 8 out of 10. Let me just clock that in. I've got to do that for the records. Tommy, how about yourself? What would you give this Moon Knight Annual #1?
Yeah, I would agree with Connor as an annual, as a great introduction to a character that might hook you to learn more about the character and read more of the character's history. I'd also go with an 8, a good waxing gibbous. And I really enjoyed it. I know that I have to... Yeah. I have to... I again, just have to try to separate myself as a fan of Moon Knight and really just think of it. If I were to want to find a comic to read on a car ride for 2 hours or something like that, I'd want something that would be fun to read. I would want something that is full of action. I'd want maybe a little bit of a larger universe hidden behind the panels. And I think that Cullen Bunn did a really great job. I think Moustafa and Horak and the cover artists too, they did a really great job of packing in a fairly tight issue that it really is just fun to read. Yeah. And it's again, a one-shot. So considering that, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Or a big, beautiful yellow moon.
Moon, no, sorry, not man. Is it a man or moon, Connor? Anyway, sorry.
It's a man.
Man. Chad, how about yourself? What would you give this? Did this tickle your tonsils?
It was absolutely terrible. I'm ditching this entire podcast.
Oh,
no, I honestly really liked it. I just couldn't see an actual big enough fault to drop it anywhere even close to a 7. So, yeah, I'm just going to land on that waxing gibbous. Yeah. Just 8 shattered totems out of 10.
8 shattered totems. Okay. No worries. Wow, all round. Okay, that's great. I really enjoyed it as well. It's so much fun. It was a great read. It's only once, we're going to do a review that I thought, okay, let's have a look at this. A few things they need a bit more explaining, but upon more discussion, as we've said, things can make sense potentially. I'm going to give it something different only because I want to know what Connor's description is. So 7.5, Connor. What is that?
That's just a solid round boy.
Excellent. So I'm giving it a solid round boy, as Connor would describe it. So there you go, loonies. I've mucked up the average system, so it's not 8. It's just a little under. So 8 from Connor, Tommy, Chad. I've given it a solid. What was it? Solid moon boy.
Solid round boy. So it's a 7.75 out of 10.
Solid round boy. There you go, loonies. I hope you enjoyed our rather, lengthy discussion of it. I think it warranted it as well. It's, far and few between that we actually get a current Moon Knight issue, so what better chance to talk and open up the forum with this one. So, yeah, well, all good. Well done, Cullen, Bunn, and Ibrahim Moustafa on a good job. Tommy's just temporarily gone away. Let's just go to a quick break, Loonies. We've got one more leg of this episode to come. We've got a few Mooney missives that we'd like to go through, so we'll catch you at the end of a couple of these messages. See you soon.
He back.
Hey there. I'm sure you know about the Capes and Lunatics podcast, but have you heard about the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast? It's a fun home for classic and new reviews of just about everything. We have the Ultimate Spider Cast, where we cover everything Spider-Man. The Quantum Zone, where we talk the classic Marvel character Quasar and do deep dives on the cosmic side of Marvel. We also have Comic Capers, where we cover everything old and new in comics. It could be anything, any company, any decade. And we also have our Media Mondays, where we cover some kind of TV show, be it a Arrowverse current hit or our summer specials, where we do reviews of classic episodes of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff Angel. So, if you're a fan of pop culture and media, you should really check it out. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Hey there everyone, I'd like to tell you about the YouTube channel I Am Your Target Demographic. If you're a fan of comics, we have plenty that you'll enjoy over there, including a series called Heroes Like Us that explores comic characters of all sorts of different identities. And we even have a series that defines words that are used in nerd culture that you may not know what they mean. So you can check us out by heading to YouTube and searching I Am Your Target Demographic, or look up IAYTD on any social media outlet.
Welcome back, Looney listeners. You're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. We are on our final round for this episode, and we're going to some listener feedback, some Mooney missives. So we got a heap of these. Everyone loves their Moon Knight issues. So what do you say, guys? Why don't we take a bundle each? We'll just go through it. We'll alternate, right? Well, Chad, why don't we start with you? You've left something in there as well. I'd love to read yours out first, and then we'll just go, Chad, Tommy, Connor? How's that? And then myself.
Sounds good.
Good, alrighty. So kick us off, Chad.
So this is what I had left in the Facebook group under the discussion thread. I love seeing the evolution of the Knight throughout floundered timelines. I also admire stories in time travel that make sure to seal up any paradoxes. I am not a fan of that inconsistency. Leaving the mother of the cult as a safeguard against Kang is a great move, and her design is exactly what I'd expect of an avatar of vengeance and snickting. I pay hard cash to read some more what-ifs about the Moon Militia. The story was solid, and the ride was fun, and we got to explore some higher ground. Paradox shut, case closed. No face ripping, but there were plenty of amusing moments where Kang is clanged, or Mark oofs this way through timey-wimey funscapes. Ibrahim does great job at capturing the feeling of time displacement and the absurdity of the situation Mark gets to deal with each time. Tan and Barretto's cover is also pretty fantastic as well. 8 out of 10.
Excellent. Consistent, Chad. Consistent. The next one there, Tommy.
Kyle Schaefer. It was pretty good. I don't think Bunn is a good comic writer.
Whoa.
However,
R.I.P.
this worked for me. It's a fun one-shot where he lets the ideas and art do a lot of the heavy lifting. The dialogue isn't anything too special. What he does make work, though, is the Kang angle concepts and Moon Knight's maybe crazy obsession to protecting people. It's a fun ride, trying to keep this spoiler-free, but would recommend if you want to see some new goofy twists on our boy.
Cool, thanks, Kyle. Yeah, great. Sharing our sentiments thereabouts. Connor, got a short one here for you.
Yeah, Terrence Robinson says, man, I'd love to see the other character in the future. Some cool concepts. Bloody oath.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Terrence. Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of new characters introduced through just this, this one shot. We get some information. We get some feedback here from Noel. Looney Tunes Tate. He says, Days of Future Khonshu or Age of Kang or Into the Mooniverse. Overall, quite enjoyed the one-off. I always like when writers wrap a little of the Egyptian artifacts into a Moon Knight story. Makes for a fun MacGuffin and a reason to have Kang in the book in the first place, of which I was curious how they would include Kang. Now that I think of it, I should have made the easy connection between Rama-Tut, Kang's first appearance, and Khonshu. Very true. Cheers to Bunn connecting these dots. So he's connected to the West Coast Avengers. Well done there, Noel. The art was good to so-so for me. General good designs on all the Mooney variations, new characters, and Kang looked great, but some of foreshortening dynamics and anatomy looked a little off. Good colouring for modern comics, though some of the blurring effects and other modern tropes seemed rushed and too computer-generated. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. So that's another solid round boy. Noel, good one-off and one of the better acts of evil stories I'm told. It makes me long for whatever is going to happen with Moon Knight in December. And as we all know, which seems very, very consistent as well, there's going to be, this Conan Serpent War thing, it could fit in well with how Moon Knight has been portrayed here. So, So thanks, Noel. Thanks for that.
Bartley Chambers. This is the first comic I've ever pre-ordered. Was not disappointed. I miss Jake and Steven. I love the multiple personality aspect of Moon Knight. However, I felt like this was a fun one-off. I love seeing the Moon Knights throughout time. 10 out of 10. Would not mind
good stuff,
any
Brandon.
of them reappearing in some form or another. So that's a big fuck off moon, according to Connor's
Fantastic.
Fuck yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to get one of those.
Far out, Brandon. You've gone for gold
King.
there. Jeez, my gosh. Well done. No, always good to see, always good to hear. Tommy, why don't you take the next couple, because they're from the same dude.
Yeah, so Billy Brooks, he's a new conversation starter in the ITK Facebook group. So Billy, glad you're with us, and thank you for keeping the conversation going. Billy Brooks writes, I want Moon Knight 2099 and Moon Knight 2134 fighting together.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
It looked like there was some like a mech suit there or something. Very cool. And then Billy had a follow-up comment. This annual proves to me that Bemis's run missed a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of random lines like, are we in drugs, Jake? That could bring a very good story. I'm guessing that's, are we on drugs, Jake? That could bring a very good story, but stop to keep just a funny book.
Okay, so, interesting. Right. As you noted...
Something to discuss.
Yeah, as you noticed as well, Tommy, there are a lot of Bemis influences in this one, right? So, so... He's gone well. Thanks, Billy. Connor?
This next one is from Josh Johnson. He pops in with, seems like Bunn expanded on the idea Bemis threw out there in issue 190, that Khonshu has had multiple avatars over the course of history, which totally makes sense. Why would an Egyptian god wait till 1975, or whenever now with sliding timescale, to have an avatar on Earth? All the different incarnations had really cool designs. Too bad we couldn't see a bit more of them, at least the ones through the montage. The story isn't super original, feels like every other time travel story, but it's a fun one-shot, and it's the only Moon Knight we can get right now, so I'd take it. I'd rate it a lower waxing gibbous 8 out of 10. That is somewhat yellow, beautiful man.
Is it the solid round boy or something?
Solid round boy.
Well done.
Jeez.
Come on, man.
Oh, sorry, that was sorry.
Solid round boy.
Thank you.
Connor shoe
I
on the
made
block.
this
Here
like
we
8
go.
in the morning. It's there's no faults. Don't at me. DMs are closed.
Thank you very much, Josh. Awesome stuff. Very similar to the 3 other loonies here. Oh, there's a furry loony I see there, Tommy. Anyway, you won't get that unless you get the visuals. Next one, we have James Young here, and he says, very much enjoyed this. Bunn's return was a most welcome one, and the art was tops. Favourite version of Moon Knight throughout history, late 1800s Mooney. He closely resembles Gentleman Ghost from the pages of the Distinguished Competitions comics. Always had a soft spot for the character. Well done on this one, Marvel. Well, James, you sound like another happy customer, happy Mooney, happy Looney. Well done. Fantastic.
And this one's from Gabby Sorcella. I enjoyed this one-off, actually. The art and colors were nice, and the designs of the Moon Knights were great. 1800s Gentleman Moon Knight was especially great. Mark felt like Mark. Not too quippy, but still with some wit. And his heroism in the end, and it looks like a crying face. And Khonshu was pretty good too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what else to say except I'm excited for December. 7.5 out of 10. So solid round boy.
Solid round boy for that. Thank you, Gabby. I think AKA Danielle. Yeah. Thank you for that. Tommy, another short one.
Yeah, Ryan Galfetti. Just posted a brief comment. So many new cosplay ideas. So for sure, I think there's a lot of great fun that can come out of this issue
absolutely.
For some cosplaying, whether that's for Halloween coming up here or maybe even just going to a convention and having fun with some friends.
Moon Knight's got to have one of the most kind of highly appreciated costumes. I mean, even Arachnite, I'm thinking as well. Everyone loves that as well. And Moon Knight's costume just in general. So, yeah, we're very spoilt with costumes. Khonshu, we have one from our good friend here.
Jordan Hegati drops in with a loves Khonshu in this one. The wraparound variant looks better in person, not Prisoners when I first read it, but I went with the original cover. Solid choice, and I also like Khonshu. Nice abs, nice nips. It's a nice cape. It's a good look.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jordan. Always good to hear from you. Look, I'm gonna grab this long one here. I've got one from Peter Karakis the third, and he said I liked it. Well done, Peter. Well done. Fantastic. Short and to the point. And finally, Chad, we've got one from Twitter.
So on Twitter's front, we just have one from Nick Rockcamp, and it says, loved the Egypt connection. Now I want a story where Khonshu interacts with Apocalypse.
Oh yeah.
On that note, is there a chance that we would also see, the Thor Apocalypse fight at the same time?
Oh. What?
So
is that a thing that happened?
Yeah, that's like the reason why Thor has the enchanted axe, was to go kick the teeth in on Apocalypse.
Wow, I like that, how they kind of cross paths, because they don't usually, mutants are usually by themselves, aren't they, or segregated in the comics. Cool. Well, yeah, love to see that happen. Thank you all, loonies, for that. That was fantastic. Nothing from Instagram. We got actually a whole discussion on Discord, so I'm not going to go through that here. There was a lot of buzz generated and a discussion had over a Discord server, so yeah, good to see things are all lively across the board. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for taking your time. This has been a mammoth. This turned into a mammoth episode. But I appreciate Chad. It's still about 6 o'clock now there for you? 7 o'clock. 7:30 in the morning. Oh gosh, eh? Tommy, you okay? Yeah.
I made it. I have to admit, my Tottenham Hotspur team, they started about 30 minutes ago, so I've been watching that in the background. I hope that didn't deviate, but we're good. We're already up 3-0 against Crystal Palace. So, and I got my Moon Knight comics here. Yeah. I am living my best life.
Just need to put a little flutter on that as well, and then that would have tipped it all off. That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you once again, Khonshu, as well. Before we go, though, we've got to wrap up this show.
We sure do.
What have we got for next?
Next week, it is an I Love Ross session with one of those winning gibbuses. That is, guess, not Eric, but Derek O'Neill from TV Podcast Industries. They're off in the world covering a lot more comic book TV, and I hear it is a big one for sitting down with Derek and going through all his wonderful influences of a well-cultured, I'll say, comic fan.
Yes. These are top blokes. So yeah, we've had Chris on the show. We've had actually all of them, John and Derek as well. But it's the first time I actually get to actively speak to Derek, so it was a hoot. So that's dropped next week. Loonies, as always, you can contact us. Please do. We'd just love to hear from you. We'll always respond, and we just want this to be one kind of really interactive and fun community. We're on email at itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We have a website, intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com. There's actually another website as well. It's intothenightpodcast.libsyn.com as well. That provides all our episodes and our newsletters. We're on Facebook. We have a page, facebook.com/ITKMoonnight, and our group, which has exploded, is on facebook.com/groups/ITKMoonnight. Now, a little bit of housekeeping here. For any loonies, anyone listening to this who wants to join, it would be really cool if you just tick that box, just to say that you've read our little guidelines, and then we'll be able to accept you into it. It's a closed group. Look, it's not that hard. There's just 5 little guidelines that we've got there. If you can tick that box, happy days. We'll see you in the group. Also, we're on Twitter, handle at ITKMoonnight, and we're on Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. We're with iTunes ratings as well. If you could leave a review or rate us, that would be really cool. It would help us get out there a bit more, people to find out about our show. So leave us, if you can, a 5-star. If not, give us your honest opinion and let us know how we can improve the show. Finally, we're on all good podcast catchers: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, the whole kit and caboodle. So if you're listening to us now, if you're watching us on Get Vocal, we're on that as well. Excellent. Thank you one and all, and we're going to round off this show, Tommy, with a little ditty.
Yeah, so again, Looney Noel Tate and his band Deleter out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Again, just thank you to Noel, thank you to Deleter for graciously donating their music and their creative design to ITK. It really makes this podcast that Ray and Connor produce something special and quite professional too. So here is the single off of Deleter's new album that is on Bandcamp right now. You can go to deleter.bandcamp.com to support them. And this is Box. Loonies, we look forward to meeting you again on the ITK podcast. But until then, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.